Hey, if you're finding something meaningful in these weekly episodes, check out Comment Down Deeper, as you'll also get access to the morning affirmations. 2 minutes of morning affirmations every weekday to encourage you to put the first foot on the floor out of bed. Check it out at commentdownpodcast.com and look for Deeper. Okay, honest question. Do you have a shelf in the closet that is quietly becoming the place where decisions go to avoid being made? Maybe it's a chair or a shelf or somewhere. Maybe there's a bag of clothes you meant to donate 6 months ago, right? Or a picture frame that you were going to hang, or a cord that belongs to something, apparently, although no one in the house has seen that something since 2019. You do not throw any of it away because you might need it, right? You don't put it where it belongs because technically you are still, quote unquote, dealing with it. Yes. So it sits there. Not gone, not finished, just kind of waiting. Most of us have a physical place like this, or more than one. Maybe it's a shelf or a drawer or a folder on the computer called miscellaneous, guilty, which is less a filing system and more of a polite cry for help, if we're honest. But I think we also have an emotional version. It holds the conversation we never return to, right? Or the friendship we're not quite in anymore, or the apology that we drafted but did not send, or the decision we keep calling something I'm still thinking about. How many of you have those folder? What happens when unfinished feelings begin taking up the same kind of space as unfinished things? Let's find out. I'm Chad Lawson, and let's comment down in 3, 2, 1. You see, the shelf works because it keeps something out of sight without asking us to let it go. That is an important distinction that I want to make clear from the very beginning. Throwing something away feels final, right? Putting it where it belongs, oh my gosh, requires so much effort. But the shelf offers a third option, not now. And sometimes not now is exactly what we need. There are moments when we do not have the words, the energy, or the steadiness to decide what something means, right? So we set it aside. This is not a weakness. It may be the kindest thing we can do until we have a little bit more room, right? And the problem is that temporary storage, it has a way of becoming permanent. You stop noticing the object itself, but you still know it's there. Right? I mean, every time you open the closet, there's a brief reminder. Oh, yeah, right, that. And you shift it to reach the towels, right? You promise yourself you will deal with it later and close the door, and it takes 3 seconds, but it leaves behind a tiny unfinished feeling. Well, emotional clutter works a lot of the same way. You may go days without thinking about the argument. Then someone uses the same phrase and there it is. Or you may believe you are over the friendship. Then you see their name and feel the old uncertainty return. Or you may not consciously think about the decision that you have delayed, but it sits behind the other choices, quietly affecting them. Nothing is happening. Exactly. And that is why it's so hard to explain, right? There is no crisis. There's no dramatic ending, just a collection of open loops taking up a little attention every day. And in full disclosure, I mean, the cost is not always sadness. Sometimes it's hesitation, right? You become slower to trust because one old hurt, it was never named. Or you keep your schedule full because there's a feeling that's just waiting when things get quiet. You avoid starting something new because part of you is still responsible for the old thing that you never stopped. So a shelf can hold more than objects. It can hold versions of you. The version of you who thought that the relationship would recover, or the version who planned to become someone different, or the version who was waiting for an explanation. You don't quite want to release them because doing so may feel like admitting that they're not coming back. And as long as the thing remains unfinished, let's be honest, a small possibility, it remains alive, kind of. Maybe they will call. Maybe you will return to the project. Maybe the right words will arrive. Or maybe one day you'll understand why it happened. And that possibility, truthfully, it can be comforting, right? It can also keep you standing in a doorway long after the room has changed. And this is why emotional clutter is not just a problem of poor discipline, of laziness. It's not. Often it's protecting us from something being final. Finishing the conversation may mean accepting that the other person still does not understand. Or deleting the draft may mean admitting we're not going to send it. Or letting go of the old plan, that might mean grieving the person that we expected to become. Give yourself some grace. The shelf is not full because you don't care. It's full because some things matter enough that you did not know how to finish with them. That changes the way that we approach it. You don't need to storm through your inner closet with a trash bag and announce that everything which no longer sparks joy has until sunset, right? Emotional life is not a weekend organization television show. Some things need more gentleness than that. But gentleness does not mean leaving everything untouched forever. An unfinished feeling keeps asking a quiet question. Are we returning to this? Or are we only afraid to admit that we are done? Those are different things. One holds intention. Are we returning to this? And the other one holds us in suspension. Or are we only afraid to admit that we are done? And not every item needs to be a perfect ending, okay? Some conversations will never be completed in the way that you want. Let's be honest. Some people will not give you that explanation. They just won't. Some choices will always leave you with a little doubt behind. And then closure is not always a neat exchange where everybody understands or apologizes and then leaves with matching emotional receipts. Sometimes closure is just telling yourself the truth about what is no longer happening. So I want to offer you 2 small invitations this week. The first is to notice one thing on your emotional shelf and give it an honest label. Not the situation with them, not something I need to figure out. No, name what it actually is. I'm waiting for an apology that may never come. Or, I miss this friendship, but I have not reached out. Or, I do not want this goal anymore and I feel guilty admitting it. Do not solve it yet. Do not. Just label it. The resistance you feel will tell you something. Because vague language, it lets us keep a feeling nearby without having to meet it directly. But a clear name, that turns the light on. You may learn that the unfinished thing is not asking for action yet. It's just asking to stop being disguised. Sometimes it's a slow progress. And then the second is to choose one small item and move it off the shelf. That might mean returning to it, or it may mean releasing it. And send a simple message, right? Put 10 minutes back into the abandoned project. Delete the draft you already know that you'll never send. Give away the object that belongs to a life you no longer live. It's not easy. But choose something small enough that you do not need a burst of courage or a free weekend. The point is not to clear the whole closet. It's not. It's to experience what happens when one old decision is no longer hovering in the background. You may feel relief. You may feel grief. You may feel almost nothing at first. Moving something does not tell you it never mattered. It tells you that it no longer has to remain unfinished in order to prove that it did. So the shelf in the closet will probably never be completely empty, let's be honest. Neither will the emotional one. We are always becoming people who outgrow plans, right? Who misunderstand each other or lose touch or change direction and need time before we know what to do with any of it. But perhaps, I don't know, perhaps the goal is not an empty shelf, right? It's kind of unrealistic. Perhaps it's just knowing what you're keeping there and why. So the next time you open the closet and see the bag, you see the frame, you see the mysterious cord from the previous administration, notice the little promises underneath it. I will deal with this someday. Then ask whether someday is still an intention or whether it has become a hiding place. You do not have to finish everything today. Just stop calling it forgotten when some part of you has been carrying it all along. Thanks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for living. And until next time, be kind to your mind and join me again as we calm it down. To find more episodes of Calm It Down, see where I may be appearing in your area, or just simply want to know where to send me some chocolate chip cookies, visit calmitdownpodcast.com. This podcast was written and produced by yours truly, Chad Lawson, composer, pianist, and nationally recognized Sweet Tooth. The views, expressions, and techniques in this episode are of my personal opinion and not intended, nor should they, serve as a substitute for medical advice or diagnosis rendered to you by your individual doctor or other healthcare provider. Only a licensed physician should evaluate your situation, provide a diagnosis, or render other medical advice to you, and you should only act upon the advice of this physician. Now, I'm an extreme empath by nature, but my profession is that of a composer and pianist, not a licensed therapist or physician. I hear from thousands of listeners how my music has helped them through various stages of emotional needs, and I simply want to offer this in future podcast episodes to aid those needs. So to find a list of licensed professionals in your area, please visit calmitdownpodcast.com. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review, or better yet, share it with a friend. While it takes less than 60 seconds to do, its impact will last for years to come, as every little bit helps in growing the awareness and the importance of mental and emotional health. Thank you for listening. Thank you for living. And until next time, be kind to your mind and join me again as we calm it down.